I left my purse at the restaurant and rushed back to retrieve it. Suddenly, the manager murmured to me, "I'll pull the security video, but don't collapse when you watch it." What my husband did on the footage made my knees buckle. It turns out that night there. You know that feeling when your entire world shatters into a million pieces? What if the person you loved most, the man who swore to protect you, was actually plotting to drive you insane and steal everything you had? Because that's exactly what I discovered when a restaurant manager grabbed my arm, pulled me into his office, and whispered, his face white as a sheet, "Please, just be strong, ma'am. Don't scream after you see this footage." And let me tell you, what I saw made my blood run cold. It was supposed to be a perfect night. My husband, Alex, and I were celebrating our 3rd wedding anniversary at this gorgeous 5-star restaurant in Manhattan's Upper East Side. Think crystal chandeliers, soft music, and a golden glow reflecting off the china. We looked like the happiest couple in the world, sitting with his mother, Catherine, and Jessica, who Alex introduced as his adopted sister. I was wearing this elegant designer dress, feeling beautiful, radiant even, despite the exhaustion that had been creeping up on me lately, all those headaches, you know. Tonight was also a quiet celebration because my health had finally started to improve. For weeks, I'd been plagued by these terrible headaches and dizziness. But surrounded by my loved ones, everything felt right. Alex, my handsome, devoted husband, was cutting my steak into tiny pieces, fussing over me like I was the most precious thing in the world. Catherine, his mom, was all smiles and affection, calling me a good wife. And Jessica, so sweet and helpful, kept refilling my wine glass. I remember thinking, I am the luckiest woman alive. I'd inherited my father's massive corporation, and I had a husband who truly loved me, not my fortune. Alex even gently stroked my hand, asking if the food was good. I just nodded, beaming. "It's delicious," I told him. "But what makes it even better is having you all here." Catherine chimed in, praising me, saying I deserved all this happiness. Jessica gushed about our harmonious home. The whole picture was just perfect. Dinner ended, and Alex, being the head of the family, insisted on paying the bill. He always did, even though my wealth dwarfed his. It was that responsible attitude that made me love him even more. As we walked out into the chilly New York night, Alex immediately shrugged off his jacket and put it over my shoulders. Catherine and Jessica walked ahead, giggling. It was so idyllic. Alex opened the car door for me like a princess. We drove off, the car filled with laughter and jokes. But then, about 15 minutes later, just as we were about to hit the FDR Drive, a wave of panic washed over me. My hands fumbled over my lap, under the seat. My designer purse, it was gone. My phone, my wallet, all my IDs, everything was in there. I told Alex, my voice tight with worry, that I'd forgotten it. He calmly pulled over, reassured me, and offered to turn back. But I looked at the clock, then at Catherine in the back seat, already looking sleepy. I felt awful about making her spend more time on the road. No, I decided. I'll go back alone. I'd just get a rideshare. I asked Alex to drop Catherine and Jessica home, then either come back for me or wait at our townhouse. He initially resisted, wanting to come with me, but I insisted. "It's a safe restaurant, honey. I'll be fine. It'll just take a minute." He reluctantly agreed, ordered an Uber, and waited until it arrived. As I rode back, I felt a little silly, you know? So careless. But then I smiled, thinking about Alex, how attentive he was. I pictured our beautiful future, maybe even a baby soon. The Uber pulled up to the restaurant. It was much quieter now, some lights already dimmed. I hurried inside, hoping my purse was still where I left it. I was barely through the main doors when Mr. Roberts, the manager who'd greeted us earlier, suddenly appeared. His friendly smile was gone. His face was tense, pale. His eyes held a deep, unsettling seriousness. Cold sweat beaded on his temples. He stood right in front of me, blocking my path. Before I could even ask about my purse, he politely, yet firmly, took my arm. It felt like he was holding me to prevent me from running, or fainting. In a low, trembling voice, he apologized for his discourtesy, but stressed there was something urgent I needed to know. I was so confused. "My purse? Where is my purse?" I asked, trying to pull away. He didn't answer. Instead, he led me to a door next to the reception desk that read, "Manager's office." I started to feel scared. Was it a robbery? Had something terrible happened? But his intense gaze convinced me to comply. We stepped inside. The small office was lined with monitors, all showing security camera footage from different angles of the restaurant. My heart hammered as he locked the door behind us. Click. "What is this?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Why am I in a locked room?" Mr. Roberts took a deep breath, trying to compose himself. He looked directly into my eyes. "I have to show you something," he said. "Something the camera above your table recorded. I need you to be strong. Promise me you won't scream or faint," he warned me. "What you're about to see will change your entire view of the people you just had dinner with." With slightly shaking hands, he pressed a button on his computer. I stood frozen in front of his desk, my eyes glued to the largest monitor. The video showed a high-quality recording of our table, number 12, from about 20 minutes ago. The timestamp in the corner confirmed it. Mr. Roberts explained he was doing a routine camera review when he noticed something suspicious. "Pay close attention," he instructed, "to the moment you left for the restroom." On screen, my chair was empty. Only Alex, Catherine, and Jessica remained. At first, they seemed normal. But seconds after my back disappeared from view, Alex's demeanor snapped. That warm smile vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating expression. He looked left, then right, checking for waiters. My heart literally stopped. I watched, breath held hostage, as his hand shot out and grabbed my purse from the table. My own husband. He opened it, so skillfully, like he knew every inch of it. He pulled out a small white bottle. My bottle. My vitamins and iron supplements. The ones my doctor told me to take every night because of my constant dizziness. On the screen, Alex unscrewed the cap. Without a flicker of hesitation, he emptied all the Rio capsules onto a napkin in his lap. Then, he crumpled the napkin, Rio vitamins and all, and stuffed it into his jacket pocket. The bottle was empty. He reached into his own pants pocket and pulled out a small plastic baggie. Inside were other pills, almost identical in shape and color to mine. He poured them into my vitamin bottle. He closed it, shook it gently to make it look normal, and put it back in my purse, exactly where it had been. The whole thing took less than a minute. I clapped my hand over my mouth, stifling a scream that tore at my throat. Tears blurred my vision, but I forced myself to keep watching. The most painful part came next. Catherine, the woman I thought of as my own mother, had witnessed the entire act. Instead of forbidding it, instead of being shocked, she covered her mouth, stifling a laugh. Her body shook with mirth. Then, she did something that made my blood boil. She tilted her head back, rolled her eyes, and made these grotesque, random gestures, mimicking a mentally disturbed person. She pointed at my empty chair, still acting like a madwoman. And Jessica. Sweet, adopted Jessica. She leaned close to Alex's ear. No sound, but her lip movements and facial expressions screamed support. She even patted his shoulder proudly, as if congratulating him on a brilliant plan. The three of them then discreetly clinked glasses in a toast. Just before the video showed me reappearing from the restroom, it ended. The monitor went dark. Mr. Roberts's office was swallowed by a terrifying silence. All I could hear was the hum of the air conditioner, and my own ragged breathing. My world crumbled. My legs gave out. I would have collapsed if I hadn't gripped the edge of his sturdy wooden desk. I felt dizzy, nauseous. Betrayed. Utterly, sickeningly betrayed. My husband. My mother-in-law. My sister-in-law. The people I loved, the people I supported, were a pack of wolves in sheep's clothing. Mr. Roberts quickly pulled up a chair. "Please sit," he urged. He took a small bottle from his desk drawer and placed it in front of me. It was my original vitamin bottle. He explained that after my family left, he'd ordered the cleaning staff to check the men's restroom trash. Alex had gone in there before leaving. They found the crumpled napkin with my real vitamins. Then, Mr. Roberts spoke in a grave tone. He told me he used to be a pharmacist before becoming a restaurant manager. He explained that the pills Alex put in my bottle weren't instant poison, but a type of illegal, powerful psychotropic drug. If consumed routinely by a healthy person, he said, the side effects are terrifying: visual and auditory hallucinations, extreme anxiety, paranoia, confusion, even a complete loss of touch with reality. He emphasized, "Their goal wasn't to kill you, Miss Emily. It was to make you appear insane." He paused, then added, "Those dizzy spells, those headaches you've had for the last month? They were most likely the initial effects. Small doses, perhaps mixed into your food or drink at home." I sat in stunned silence, processing every word. The strange events of the past few weeks started to click into place. The whispers at night I thought were hallucinations. The shadowy figures I'd glimpsed in the corners of rooms. Forgetting where I put things. It wasn't illness. It was chemical manipulation. By the man who slept next to me every night. Alex wanted to drive me mad. Then the motive hit me. If I were declared mentally incompetent, medically or legally, the right to manage my company, all my assets, my father's inheritance, it would all fall into the hands of my closest guardian, my own husband. They wanted to get rid of me, enjoy my wealth, without having to commit murder. It was so neat. So evil. Suddenly, my cell phone buzzed loudly on the desk. My husband flashed on the screen, Alex's smiling face in the profile picture. I stared at it, a lost look on my face, torn between hatred and disgust. I wanted to smash it. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call the police right now. But Mr. Roberts gently held back my hand as I moved to decline the call. He shook his head. "Don't be reckless," he advised. "If you confront them now, without proper preparation, they'll deny everything. They'll destroy the evidence. And you, Miss Emily, under the influence of those drugs, could easily be dismissed as hysterical." He was right. My position would be weak without concrete evidence beyond this recording. "Answer the phone," he told me. "And act as normal as possible. This will be the performance of your life. Make them believe their plan is going smoothly. That way, you can gather more evidence. You can turn the tables." I took a deep breath, roughly wiped my tears, and tried to steady my voice. I pressed the green button. Alex's voice came through, dripping with false concern that now sounded utterly sickening. "Honey? Did you find your purse? Do you need me to pick you up?" I forced my voice to sound a little weak, but calm. "It's fine, Alex," I said. "It was at the reception desk. I'm just waiting for my car. Don't worry." I hung up quickly before my emotions could erupt. I looked at Mr. Roberts and nodded firmly. He handed me the bottle of real vitamins. "Keep this safe. Comparative evidence," he reminded me. "Take the bottle from your purse, the one with their drugs, but never actually ingest them." I retrieved my purse from his desk drawer. I clutched it tightly, not for fear of losing my belongings, but like a shield. That night, I walked out of Mr. Roberts's office, no longer a naive, weak wife. A fire of anger burned in my chest, carefully hidden behind a calm face. The war had begun. And I swore they would not win. I was going back to a house that now felt like a den of snakes, ready to play my part in this deadly play. The Uber pulled up to our 2-story townhouse. It looked majestic, cozy, a symbol of success and marital bliss from the outside. But for me, tonight, it was a giant, cold, dark stage full of traps. I paid the driver, stood for a moment, and took a deep breath. I had to go in there, face the people who wanted to destroy me, and pretend I knew nothing. I opened the door with my spare key. The living room was quiet, dimly lit. Alex appeared from the kitchen, a wide smile on his face, as if no crime had been committed hours ago. He greeted me with a warm hug. A gesture that used to make me feel loved, but now sent shivers of disgust down my spine. "Feeling calmer now that you have your purse back, honey?" he cooed. I forced a stiff smile. "Just a little tired from the trip," I mumbled. He led me to the sofa. With practiced ease, he picked up a glass of water and the vitamin bottle, the very same one I'd seen in the footage. He shook one pill into his palm and offered it to me. "You should take your vitamin, so your head won't hurt tomorrow," he said, his voice full of feigned affection. "Your health is my top priority." I looked at that tiny pill in my palm. This small object was the weapon my husband was using to snatch away my sanity, piece by piece. With a quick, careful movement, I brought the glass to my lips, put the pill in my mouth, but didn't swallow it. I hid it under my tongue, then drank a lot of water to convince him. Alex watched me intently. When he saw the empty glass, he smiled with satisfaction, stroking my head. "Good, obedient wife." I immediately excused myself, saying I needed to rest. In the master bathroom, I spat the pill into a tissue and flushed it down the toilet. I splashed cold water on my face, staring at my pale reflection. My eyes, though, radiated a fierce determination. I could not be weak. I lay on the bed, pretending to close my eyes. Soon Alex came in, kissed my forehead, whispered, "Good night," and left, closing the door gently. I waited 10 minutes, making sure he wouldn't return. Then I slowly got out of bed, making no sound. My mind raced with the strange occurrences of the last month. Those whispers at night, calling my name, the sound of a baby crying, faint murmurs, they often woke me in a cold sweat. Alex and Catherine had always insisted I was stressed, or disturbed by supernatural things. Tonight, I was going to find the source. I turned on my phone's flashlight and searched everywhere. Under the bed, in the closet, the air vents. Nothing. Then my gaze fell on this large, ornate painting directly across from my bed. A gift from Catherine, 2 months ago. I approached it, carefully lifted the heavy frame off the wall. My wild suspicion was right. Tucked behind the wooden frame, hidden neatly, was a small, black, square object with a faint blinking red light. A mini wireless speaker. Attached with strong adhesive. My blood boiled. Those ghostly whispers, the ones that had tormented me, weren't hallucinations. They were voice recordings, played periodically by my own husband through this device. He purposely disrupted my sleep, creating the illusion of auditory hallucinations. I photographed the device for evidence, then carefully returned the painting to its spot. But my curiosity wasn't satisfied. I heard faint voices downstairs. Tiptoeing barefoot, I crept down the stairs, avoiding the creaky parts. The house was dark, but a dim light came from the family room. Alex and Jessica's conversation grew clearer. My heart hammered, terrified of being caught, but I had to know. I hid behind a decorative cabinet, peeking through a gap. There they were. Alex and Jessica, sitting so close on the sofa. Too close. Her head rested familiarly on his shoulder. His hand caressed her hair. I felt a wave of nausea. The betrayal was deeper, dirtier than I'd imagined. Not just conspiring for my fortune, but having an affair behind my back. I heard Alex laugh softly. Emily already took tonight's dose, he said. Tomorrow, during the company meeting, the effect will peak. If she takes the morning dose. He smiled smugly. She'll humiliate herself in front of the shareholders. The perfect reason to commit her. Jessica's voice, sickly sweet, chimed in. When can we stop pretending to be siblings? I'm tired of being polite to that foolish, naive Emily. She couldn't wait to be the true lady of the house, sending me to an asylum on the outskirts of the city. She even planned a European vacation using my company's money. Alex calmed her, kissing the top of her head. It'll all be over in less than 24 hours. Emily has no one else, he promised. Her parents are gone. She trusts us completely. I recorded that disgusting conversation on my phone. My hands trembled, holding back a volcano of anger. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Not tears of sadness, but pure, burning hatred. I now knew no one in this house was on my side. I was alone, in a den of thieves. But that knowledge, it gave me a strange, fierce strength. I turned off the recording, backed away, and crept back to my room. I lay in bed, pulling up the blanket, staring at the dark ceiling. I wouldn't sleep tonight. I would map out my counterattack. Tomorrow morning, the real war would begin. The morning sun pierced through the curtains, waking me, though I hadn't really slept. My eyes were heavy, but my mind was razor sharp. I heard Alex's voice from the bathroom. It was time for retaliation. I moaned softly, holding my head, pretending to just wake up in a chaotic state. I sat on the edge of the bed, deliberately unsteady, my face confused, my gaze vacant. Alex, seeing me wake, rushed over, his face full of fake concern. He asked about my condition. I answered in a hoarse voice, complaining my head felt heavy, still hearing whispers from last night. He hid a cunning smile, nodding sympathetically. Probably just tired, he said. You should rest at home until noon. He reminded me not to forget the morning medicine he'd already prepared on the nightstand. I nodded obediently. After Alex made sure I took my medicine, of course, I hid it under my tongue again, he said goodbye. He was taking Catherine to the market and running errands, promising to be back before lunch for the company meeting. I felt a surge of relief hearing his car leave. The moment it was out of sight, I literally sprang out of bed. The feigned dizziness vanished. I grabbed my phone and called James, my late father's trusted lawyer. I spoke quickly, firmly, asking him to come to my house now, through the back door, so no one would see. Fortunately, Jessica had also left with Alex and Catherine. The house was empty. A golden opportunity. Less than half an hour later, James arrived, looking worried. I led him to Alex's private office, which was always locked. But I knew where Alex hid the spare key, in a flower pot in the hallway. We got in. The room was messy with documents. I went straight to the small safe. I remembered seeing Alex use Catherine's birth date as the combination. Click. The door swung open. James gasped at the contents. Stacks of documents. Irrefutable proof. He found the draft of the conservatorship petition. It stated I was suffering from a severe mental disorder and was unfit to manage my assets, demanding that everything be handed over to Alex. There was a false statement from a psychiatrist, claiming I had paranoid schizophrenia. And beyond the legal papers, bank records. Suspicious transactions. James examined them. Funds, huge amounts, transferred from the company account to personal accounts in Catherine and Jessica's names. Falsified descriptions. Supplier payments, fictitious operating expenses. Alex had been systematically draining the company to fund their luxurious lifestyle. Jewelry, designer bags, even the down payment on a luxury apartment, all with my money. But the most shocking discovery was at the bottom of the pile. Jessica's passport. I opened it. Her last name wasn't Alex's family name. It was different. And hidden inside was a photo. A civil wedding photo. Between Alex and Jessica. Dated 5 years ago. Long before he married me. Jessica wasn't an adopted sister. She wasn't a distant cousin. She wasn't just a new lover. Jessica was Alex's wife. Or ex-wife. The woman they brought into my home under the guise of family. Alex married me solely to steal my fortune, while his true love was Jessica. I felt nauseous, realizing how foolish I'd been for 3 years, letting that woman live in my house. James quickly photographed everything, then secured some crucial original documents in his briefcase. Suddenly, we heard a car engine. Alex was back. Much sooner than expected. The front door opened, then heavy footsteps on the stairs. James went pale. He couldn't leave through the front door. I quickly signaled for him to hide in the large closet. He slipped inside just seconds before the doorknob turned. I stood rigid in the middle of the room, trying to neutralize my expression. The door opened. Alex stood there, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. "Why are you in my office, Emily? How did you get in?" "The door was locked." My heart hammered. Cold sweat ran down my back. I forced a vacant, confused smile. "I heard voices," I whispered weakly. "They told me to come here to look for you. I felt so lonely." I played the part of a wife losing her mind convincingly. I approached him, hugged his arm, whimpering like a small child, asking for protection from the evil voices. The suspicion in his eyes slowly faded, replaced by a hideous satisfaction. My messy, dependent state confirmed that his medicine was working. Alex smirked, stroked my hair. "There's no one here, honey." He guided me out, unaware that a lawyer, holding the evidence of his destruction, was hidden just meters away. "You should get ready," he said gently. "Catherine's bringing a special meal for the meeting." I just nodded, already preparing for the next act. The sun beat down outside, but inside my house, the air felt cold, terrifying. After James slipped out the back door, I sat on the living room sofa, regulating my breathing. The next act of this farce was about to begin, and I couldn't make a single mistake. My enemies, the people closest to me, were extraordinary actors. I had to be better. Exactly at noon, a taxi pulled up. Catherine emerged, carrying stacked lunch containers and a large purse. Her face was adorned with a wide, sincere smile, to anyone who didn't know the rot in her heart. I watched her from behind the curtain. She paused on the porch, my stray calico cat meowing affectionately, rubbing against her legs. Catherine, with a flicker of disgust, gently kicked the cat away, before plastering her sweet smile back on. I immediately returned to the sofa, hugging a cushion, putting on my listless, lost expression. The door opened, and Catherine's shrill voice filled the room, calling me an endearment that made my stomach churn. She approached, placed her things on the table, and sat right next to me. She caressed my cheek with her rough but warm hands. "How's my favorite daughter-in-law today?" "My head still feels heavy," I mumbled. "And the world seems to be spinning." Exactly as the script demanded. Catherine nodded with concern. "It's normal, dear. You're sick." She opened the containers. The fragrant aroma of a rich, spicy beef stew filled the room. It was a dish I loved. Before, I would have been touched. Today, it smelled like death. I knew this lunch was a crucial part of their plan. The shareholder meeting was this afternoon. They needed me in a chaotic, hallucinating, or at least unconscious state, so Alex could take control, citing my mental health. Catherine skillfully served rice and the warm stew. The gravy was thick, the meat tender. But I was sure, hidden within that deliciousness, was a dose of forbidden drugs, much higher than last night's pill. Catherine offered me the plate, coaxing me to eat, to get my strength up. "I cooked this specially for you, early this morning, so your mind will be calmer. No more strange voices." Her sweet words sounded like deadly snake venom. I looked at the plate doubtfully. I had to get rid of it without being discovered. I couldn't refuse outright, she'd force it down my throat. I clutched my stomach, wincing in pain. "I feel nauseous if I eat in this stuffy living room," I gasped. "Could I eat on the back patio? Get some fresh air so I don't throw up?" Catherine seemed to consider it, her eyes narrow, but finally nodded. She even offered to get cold water. I didn't waste a second. The moment her back disappeared into the kitchen, I rushed to the glass door leading to the patio. The calico cat, the one she'd kicked, was sitting there, waiting for scraps. With trembling hands, but swift movements, I emptied the entire contents of the stew plate into the cat's food bowl in the corner. The hungry cat devoured it greedily. I scraped my plate clean, leaving only a little gravy stain to give the impression I'd eaten it all. Then I sat in a wicker chair, regulated my breathing, and put on a satisfied expression. A few moments later, Catherine arrived with the water. She smiled broadly, seeing my empty plate. Her face radiated an almost evil satisfaction. She praised me for eating heartily, saying, "The medicine in that stew will surely work soon to cure you." I just smiled faintly. Yes, I thought. The medicine will work. Just not on me. 15 minutes passed. We chatted on the patio. Catherine started probing about Alex's safe, trying to get the combination from me. I feigned forgetfulness, dazed. Then, a horrifying noise. The calico cat, the one who'd eaten the stew, suddenly leaped high into the air as if stung. It landed badly, then ran aimlessly, crashing into walls, flower pots, chair legs. Its meows turned into a long, heart-wrenching scream. It sounded like extreme pain, extreme fear. Its eyes were wide, wild, pupils dilated until they almost covered the entire eyeball. The poor animal spun around, chasing its own tail, then fell, rolling and convulsing on the patio floor. White foam frothed from its mouth. The scene was horrific. Catherine screamed, jumping onto her chair. Her face was ashen. Her eyes fixed on the dying cat. She trembled violently, not just from shock, but because she knew. She knew that horrible reaction should have been mine. The dose she mixed into the stew was too strong, even for a human, let alone a small animal. Fear, pure raw fear, gripped her. What if I had eaten it? What if I had died? Their plan would collapse. They'd be charged with murder. I, still calm in my chair, looked at Catherine with feigned innocence. "Why is the cat acting so strange?" I asked, my voice confused. "Like it's possessed." I even approached the cat, which was now just twitching slightly. "Maybe it ate something poisonous outside?" My words struck Catherine's heart. She hastily got down, pulling my hand away. "The cat probably has rabies. We need to go inside, now." Inside, Catherine was restless. She kept looking at the clock, glancing at me suspiciously, waiting for the drug's reaction to hit me. But I still seemed normal. Just sleepy, weak. Not convulsing like the cat. "Perhaps the effect is different in humans," she muttered, trying to calm herself. Shortly after, Alex arrived with Jessica. Alex walked in, confident, wearing an expensive suit he'd bought with my credit card. He looked at his mother, a silent question in his eyes. Catherine nodded slightly, a signal that the lunch mission was accomplished. Alex smiled, satisfied. He approached me, stroked my head. "Time to get ready for the office, honey." He said I had to attend the important meeting, just as a formality. "Don't worry," he told me. "I'll handle everything if you don't feel up to speaking." I obeyed without a word. I let Jessica help me choose clothes, drab colors, messy hair, to make me look even more neglected for the investors. I looked at my reflection as Jessica fixed me up, a mocking smile on her face. In the mirror, I saw the gaze of a warrior. The more broken I appeared now, the more dramatic my resurgence would be later. As Alex took my arm to leave for the car, I glanced towards the back patio. The poor cat was no longer moving, an innocent victim. I promised myself, its suffering would be paid for in full today. The drive to my family's skyscraper office felt incredibly long and tense. In the luxury car, the silence was heavy. Alex sat next to me, holding my hand tightly, playing the most protective husband. But I could feel the coldness of his palm, the fine sweat. He was nervous, yes, but also thrilled. Jessica sat in front, occasionally glancing at Alex in the rearview mirror, exchanging meaningful looks. Catherine hadn't come. She was still reeling from the cat incident, preferring to wait for news of victory at home. The car stopped at the lobby. I got out, deliberately dragging my feet, leaning heavily on Alex's arm. Employees, security personnel, looked at me with mixed feelings, pity, discomfort. Rumors about my mental health had clearly been spread by Alex and his accomplices. They saw their elegant, firm boss, now looking like a lost soul, disheveled. This confirmed it for everyone. Emily was no longer capable. Alex led me to the executive elevator. Inside, he whispered, "Be calm. You don't need to say anything at the meeting. Just sit and nod. Dr. Miller is waiting in the boardroom, ready to give you additional vitamins by injection if you feel dizzy." I knew what additional vitamins meant, a high-dose sedative that would knock me out if I deviated from his script. The elevator doors opened on the top floor. We walked down the thick carpeted hallway to the main boardroom. In front of the solid double doors stood a man in a white coat, Dr. Miller. He carried a medical bag, eyeing me like a butcher sizes up cattle. Dr. Miller nodded at Alex, signaling he was ready. I just lowered my head, hiding the gleam of anger in my eyes. The boardroom doors opened. Cold air conditioning, the aroma of expensive coffee. Around the immense oval table sat a dozen important people, shareholders, board members, division heads. Their faces were serious, tense. Silence fell as Alex and I entered. All eyes on me. Some concerned, others disdainful. "Alex, with full confidence, guided me to the president's chair at the head of the table. He sat beside me, in the vice president's chair. Dr. Miller sat in a corner, on alert. Alex opened the meeting with his baritone voice, authoritative, full of fake empathy. He thanked everyone, then, with a feigned sad face, began recounting my health condition. With a heavy heart, he started. My wife, Mrs. Emily, has been experiencing severe mental health disorders. He rattled off complicated medical terms, fabricating stories about hallucinations, paranoia, emotional instability. It endangers the company if leadership remains in her hands, he declared. The room erupted in whispers. Some nodded, confirming rumors they'd heard. Alex continued, stating that to save the company, he, as legal husband and closest guardian, was offering to temporarily take over all my authority and voting rights through a conservatorship. Jessica, sitting in the secretary's row, quickly distributed copies of fake medical documents and the draft power of attorney. Alex then turned to me, an intimidating gaze camouflaged by a gentle smile. He asked the room if anyone had objections, or wanted to hear a few words from Emily, though he doubted she could speak coherently. An older board member, loyal to my father, raised his hand, requesting I speak. Alex looked tense. He subtly signaled Dr. Miller. Alex brought the microphone to my mouth and whispered, "Say you agree, honey, or the doctor will give you the shot right now." It was then that I lifted my face. My gaze, which had been vacant, suddenly became sharp, clear, authoritative. I straightened my back, shedding the sick persona. I pushed Alex's hand away from the microphone, taking firm control of it. This drastic change made Alex jump. Dr. Miller, about to stand, froze at my piercing gaze. I opened my mouth, and my voice, strong, firm, completely sane, resonated through the room. "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen," I began, polite but dignified. "Thank you for your concern about my health. However, I want to correct a fatal mistake my husband has just communicated." I paused, letting the tension fill the room. Alex started sweating. His face paled. He tried to interrupt, shouting I was delusional. But I raised my hand, a gesture of command so strong Alex fell silent. "I am not insane," I continued, my voice resonating. "I am not sick. I am not hallucinating. I am fully aware of what is happening in this room. What you have seen as symptoms of mental illness all this time is actually the result of a systematic attempt to poison me using illegal psychotropic drugs." The boardroom erupted. Shareholders looked at each other in shock. Alex panicked, shouting I was having an episode. Delirious. He ordered Dr. Miller to secure the patient. Dr. Miller advanced with a syringe. But before the needle could touch my skin, the boardroom doors burst open. James entered, flanked by 2 uniformed NYPD officers and Mr. Roberts. I stood up from my chair, staring at Alex, who now trembled with fear. "I'm not the one who needs a doctor, Alex," I said, pointing at his face. "You're the one who needs a lawyer." Then, I turned to the shareholders. "And all of you need to see who the real parasites eating away at this company are. James, please turn on the projector." The large white screen behind me slowly descended. Alex tried to run towards the laptop to unplug the cable, but the police blocked his path. He was cornered, trapped. I smiled faintly, a cold smile of victory. This meeting marked an end. Not to my downfall, but to his rotten charade. The projector screen lit up brightly, ready to display the truth that would destroy his life forever. The hum of the projector sounded deafening in the sudden silence. The bright white light hit the screen, creating a silhouette of me, upright and unmovable. Alex, blocked by the officers, stood petrified, his face pale. He wanted to scream, to stop it all, but his tongue felt numb. Cold sweat, like corn kernels, appeared on his forehead. He knew exactly what would appear on that screen. A past he thought was buried. I signaled James. He nodded, then pressed play. The first video was the security footage from the restaurant. The image quality was sharp. Everyone leaned forward, squinting. On screen, our harmonious family table. Me, leaving for the restroom. This was the start of it all. Alex's movements were clear, irrefutable. He looked left and right like an amateur thief, then grabbed my purse. A collective gasp of shock. They saw him dump my vitamins, replace them with strange pills. So planned. So cold. From a man who had just praised his wife as the most attentive husband. The image he'd built shattered. He was just a cunning con man. The video continued, showing more painful scenes. Catherine's face, digitally zoomed in by the forensic team James hired, appeared in close-up. The religious, old woman, laughing heartily, mimicking a madwoman, mocking her absent daughter-in-law. Jessica, clearly seen, patting Alex's shoulder with pride. The video was silent, but their body language screamed evil conspiracy. The boardroom erupted into a clamor. Murmurs of anger, disbelief. Some board members shook their heads in disgust, looking at Alex like dirt. Alex tried to defend himself, shouting the video was computer manipulation, that I'd paid tech experts to defame him, that it was a fake AI-generated video. But I gave him no chance to breathe. James! The second file! This time, an audio recording. A brief static sound, then Alex's voice, crisp, clear, undeniable. It was his conversation with Jessica from last night. Alex, arrogant, laughing, saying I'd taken the poison, that I'd soon go crazy. Boasting about locking me in an asylum, controlling my assets. Jessica's voice chimed in, fawning, talking about their European vacation, their official marriage after getting rid of me. Their cruel words echoed, hurting every ear. That confession of sin, from their own mouths, shattered all of Alex's accusations. Jessica, in the back row, was now white as paper. She tried to lower her head, hiding her face with her hair, wanting to disappear. But the sharp gazes were already skinning her alive. I stepped forward, standing in front of the screen. The pills my husband introduced were dangerous psychotropic substances. I stated calmly but emphatically. Designed to damage the nervous system and cause permanent hallucinations if consumed continuously. I showed the lab results I'd received that morning, proving the pills contained the substance. Then, my own clean blood test, proving I hadn't taken the drug, that I was completely healthy. Before the shock subsided, James displayed the next slide, financial data. Rows of numbers, graphs. Evidence of hundreds of thousands of dollars transferred from the company accounts to Catherine and Jessica. Jewelry, luxury bags, new cars, and apartment down payment. All using company money embezzled by Alex forging my signature. The last document, Jessica's passport photo. And the photo of her secret wedding. Alex's biggest secret revealed. The man who claimed to marry me for love already had another wife, using me as a cash cow. Alex's world collapsed. His legs gave way. He fell back into his chair, a vacant stare. All his carefully laid plans, destroyed in less than 15 minutes. He looked for an escape. The door was guarded. He looked at Dr. Miller, hoping for help, but the bought-off doctor was already being detained. Alex was alone. Completely alone in a sea of judgment. An older board member stood up, slammed the table. Traitor! Swindler! He roared, his finger trembling. He demanded Alex's immediate arrest and prosecution. The meeting turned into a public trial. Shouts of anger. Jessica cried hysterically, screaming she was just following Alex's orders, trying to save herself by sacrificing her husband. It was pathetic, and for me, deeply satisfying. I watched the chaos without expression. No overflowing joy, just a deep relief. The heavy burden was lifted. Alex, small and pitiful, the man I once adored, was now just a criminal. I walked slowly towards him. The police made way. I stood imposingly in front of him. Alex looked up, meeting my eyes, hoping for remnants of love or compassion. He tried to reach for my hand, begging forgiveness in a hoarse voice. I was wrong, under pressure from my mother. I actually love you. But I pulled my hand away, disgusted. I wouldn't be fooled again. His charade was over. I leaned close to his ear, whispering so only he could hear. The game isn't over yet, Alex. I reminded him of a small thing from the car ride, a trivial detail he'd overlooked, too focused on his ego. My whisper was like a key opening the gates of hell for him. One last surprise, the dessert for my elegant revenge. Alex remained motionless, processing my words about the mineral water he'd drunk in the car. The bottle he believed was sealed, safe, that he'd chugged because of nerves and thirst. I stepped back, a faint, meaningful smile on my face. Then I spoke louder, for James and the police to hear, but still terrifyingly intimate for Alex. As a devoted wife, I couldn't bear to see my husband tired and thirsty. So, before we left, I prepared a special vitamin in your water. The exact same vitamin you prepared for me last night and this morning. I paused, letting it sink in. The difference is, I gave you a much more generous dose. You needed extra energy for this day of judgment. Alex's heart stopped. His hands flew to his neck, as if he could vomit out the water. He remembered it tasted a bit bitter, but he dismissed it as toothpaste or nerves. It was the taste of his destruction. The psychotropic substance was now circulating, waiting to detonate his sanity. Suddenly, the room became incredibly hot for him. The cool air conditioning felt like fire. He yanked at his tie. His breathing ragged. His vision blurred. Faces warped. My face, beautiful and calm, elongated, my eyes grew large and bright red. I was transforming into a terrifying monster. He rubbed his eyes, but the vision only became more real. The drugs worked faster than expected, on an empty stomach, with extreme stress. Visual hallucinations attacked him. The shareholders became fanged monsters. The table moved like a giant snake. The floor shook violently. Though the room was still, Alex screamed hysterically. He jumped from his chair, crashing into an officer. He screamed for help, for demons wanting to eat him. He pointed at me, shrieking I was a witch, summoning evil spirits. The attendees recoiled in fear. They didn't see what he saw. They saw a man, suddenly losing his mind, shouting at nothing. Alex fell to the floor, crawling, covering his head. He babbled nonsensically, confessions of his sins mixing with absurd fears. He screamed for his mother, begging her to shoo away black cats circling his legs. He yelled about money, the safe, his plan to poison Emily. Everything poured out, uncontrollably. The hallucinations forced him to vomit up all the truth. What an irony. The script of madness he'd written for me was now happening to him. Jessica, seeing Alex lose his mind, panicked. She tried to run, tripped and fell. The police cuffed her. She cried loudly, watching her husband rolling on the floor like a man possessed. This scene was the strongest proof. Alex was unstable, not me. Dr. Miller, also cuffed, shook his head. He knew, acute overdose. No instant antidote. Alex would endure this horrific journey for hours, even days. The doctor lowered his head in shame. His career was over. I stood still amidst the chaos, a stone pillar in a storm. I looked at Alex with an expression that was hard to interpret. Pity, perhaps, but buried under the pain he'd caused. He crawled towards my feet, not to ask for forgiveness, but because he thought my legs were a pillar to shelter behind from his monsters. He hugged my legs, crying like a baby. Snot and tears soaked my dress. I didn't move. I let him feel how low his position was. James signaled the police to secure him. 3 officers struggled to restrain Alex, who kicked and punched wildly. "Demons! Army of demons!" he screamed. It took extra force to cuff him. He kept struggling, eyes wild, muttering unknown names. I finally stepped back, freeing myself from his reach. I straightened my clothes. I looked at the petrified shareholders. In a calm, authoritative voice, I apologize for the inconvenience, the drama. "This meeting will be postponed until the situation is conducive," I stated. "And I guarantee this company will be cleansed of all criminal elements." As Alex was dragged out, he turned back. In his hallucinated vision, I seemed to shine, dazzling, like the angel of death signing his sentence. He let out a long scream, a cry of despair that echoed down the hallway, marking the end of the career, ambition, and sanity of a man too greedy. I sighed deeply as the door closed, taking Alex's screams with it. Silence enveloped the room. James gently patted my shoulder. I smiled faintly. Mr. Roberts, in a corner, nodded with respect, a proud smile. I knew my physical battle was over, but reclaiming my heart, and the company's good name, had just begun. But at least the real poison, those toxic humans, had been expelled from my life forever. The chaos in the boardroom slowly subsided. Alex's hysterical screams still seemed to hang in the air, leaving a trail of unease. I remained standing, shoulders relaxing. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of freedom. The shareholders and board members were frozen in silence, trying to digest the criminal drama. No one dared speak until I turned and looked at them with a calm, authoritative gaze. James took control. He asked security to open the windows, turn on the lights, changing the gloomy atmosphere. He distributed copies of the original documents, proving I was the sole legitimate owner and fully sane. I then spoke, apologizing again for the disruption, assuring them operations would continue normally tomorrow. "A full audit will be conducted immediately," I promised, "to trace every cent embezzled by my husband." My professional, strong demeanor instantly restored their confidence. Those who doubted me now looked at me with new respect. They came forward, offering support, condemning Alex's vile acts. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, a false peace still enveloped the luxurious house. Catherine was relaxing on the sofa, enjoying tea and cookies, feet propped up on the coffee table, a dirty habit she never dared do when I was home. Her face was radiant. She imagined Alex gallantly leading the meeting, sending his foolish daughter-in-law to an asylum. She was already making a new shopping list, a diamond set, renovating her room. She glanced at the clock. The meeting should be over. She reached for her phone to call Alex or Jessica. But before she could dial, a loud banging erupted from the front door. Not a polite knock, but rough thuds, firm shouts. Her heart leaped. The teacup slipped, shattering on the floor, spilling sticky brown liquid onto the carpet. A bad feeling assaulted her, but her ego refused to believe it. She thought it was debt collector's wrong address. With trembling steps and angry face, she walked to the door. She intended to scold whoever dared disturb her. But when she opened it, the insults died in her throat. 3 uniformed police officers. 2 plainclothes detectives. Behind them, a patrol car, blue lights flashing, drawing neighbors out of their homes. Catherine took a step back, pale as a corpse, stammering. "What do you want?" An officer showed the arrest and search warrant. Catherine was being arrested for suspected involvement in attempted premeditated murder, fraud, embezzlement, and criminal conspiracy, along with Alex and Jessica. Catherine shrieked hysterically, flatly denying everything. "I'm a devout mother. I couldn't," she cried, trying to manipulate them, but the police were unmoved. They entered the house, searching every room. In Catherine's room, undeniable evidence. Hidden in her closet, luxury jewelry boxes, receipts in my company's name. Bottles of herbal medicine, mixed with sedative powder, remnants of the concoction she used to give me. Most damningly, in the kitchen trash, rat poison and leftover cat food identical to what was found in the dead cat on the patio. Apparently, the part-time housekeeper had seen the dead cat and reported it to security, becoming an additional witness. Catherine was dragged out in handcuffs, struggling, insulting me, calling me ungrateful. The neighbors, to whom she always boasted her fake wealth, now looked at her with disgust. The shame was far more painful than the metal cuffs. She was put into the police car like a common criminal. Her dreams of a luxurious life shattered, replaced by cold, gloomy bars. At the police station, I arrived with James to give a statement. I saw Jessica being interrogated through a one-way mirror. The once fashionable, arrogant young woman now looked disastrous. Makeup streaked, hair matted, eyes swollen. Seeing me in the hallway, she stood up, banged on the glass, screaming for help, begging me to drop the charges. She argued she was only following Alex's orders, that she was threatened, that she wanted to warn me but was afraid. I just glanced at her fleetingly, without expression. I knew they were crocodile tears. Jessica was as evil as Alex. James then delivered news that further deepened their despair. All of Alex's assets, his car, bank accounts, fraudulent investments, were frozen. James had also filed a civil lawsuit to seize Catherine and Jessica's personal assets to cover the company's millions in losses. They wouldn't just rot in jail, they'd be in absolute poverty. No money for expensive lawyers. No comfortable life. That night, I returned to my large house. It was empty. Quiet. No fake laughs from Catherine, no whining complaints from Jessica, no manipulative greetings from Alex. I sat on the living room sofa, the place where I was so often lied to. I looked around. The room felt incredibly spacious now. At first, a touch of loneliness, but then, an extraordinary tranquility. I felt as if I'd just been cured of a deadly chronic illness. I closed my eyes, letting a single tear fall. Not of sadness for losing my husband, but a release of emotions for the suffering I'd endured. That night, for the first time in 3 years, I slept soundly. Without fear. Without whispers in the walls. Without sleeping pills. I slept in the embrace of the truth I had won. A month later, the storm had passed. Time, though slow, was healing the invisible wounds. The city moved on. Alex and his family were top news for a while, the most shameful family fraud scandal of the year. But like all sensational news, public attention shifted, leaving them to reap the storm in silence. This morning, I sat in my office chair. Sunlight streamed through the large window, creating a halo around me. I wore an elegant navy blue suit. My face was fresh, healthier. No dark circles. Natural blush. I was reading James's final report, the court's verdict, the status of asset seizures. A faint smile touched my lips as I read their fate. Alex, 12 years in prison. Attempted premeditated murder, forgery, embezzlement, narcotics abuse. During his arrest, due to his severely damaged mental state from the overdose, he had to serve the beginning of his sentence in a maximum security psychiatric prison unit. The report said he often screamed at night, calling for me and his mother, living in permanent fear of the monsters he created. The man who adored his appearance was now skin and bones, shaved head, lost gaze. He lost everything: looks, sanity, freedom. Jessica, 8 years. Guilty of identity, passport, and marital status forgery, complicity. In women's prison, used to an easy life, she became a target. The latest news said she worked in the laundry, washing other prisoners' clothes with her delicate hands. She often cried, asking for face cream. Ridiculous. Catherine's fate, no less tragic. 5 years due to her age. But the social and economic punishment was far worse. Her luxury home foreclosed. All jewelry and goods confiscated. She truly had nothing. James said even distant relatives shunned her. The old woman, obsessed with status, now spent her old age behind bars, branded as a mother who failed her son, a wicked mother-in-law. I closed the file, put it in the drawer. No explosive satisfaction, just quiet gratitude. Justice had been served. Perfectly. I stood up, took my purse, the same one I'd forgotten that night. But now, I held it with a firm grip. I had an important lunch appointment. Not with clients, but with the man who saved my life. My car drove through Manhattan, towards the restaurant where it all began. It seemed busier now. Since my case came out, its reputation had soared for its advanced security and integrity. I entered with a strange sense of nostalgia. No fear. No trauma. This place was a witness to betrayal, yes, but also to my rebirth. Mr. Roberts was already waiting at table number 12. This time, set for 2. He greeted me with a warm, sincere smile, not the formal smile of a manager, but a friend. I returned it, full of gratitude. We sat. Special dishes, cooked by the chef under Mr. Roberts's instruction, were already on the table. I opened the conversation, stating my intention. I took a thick envelope from my purse. Not money, but a deed. I just bought a majority stake in the restaurant, Mr. Roberts, I explained. The old owner was retiring. And as the new owner, my first decision is to appoint you as Chief Operating Officer, with a significant shareholding. I wanted him to run it completely. I knew it was in the hands of the most honest, dedicated person. Mr. Roberts was stunned. His eyes welled with tears. He hadn't expected his kindness to bear such fruit. He gently refused at first, feeling it was too much. But I insisted. Mr. Roberts, you didn't just save my life from poison. You saved my future from the poison of life. Without you seeing those cameras, without you daring to act, I might be in that asylum now, truly insane from those drugs. He finally accepted, emotional. We toasted with natural orange juice. A healthy, pure drink. No poison. No deceit. I raised my glass, looked at him. To a new life, I said softly. And to the good people God sends, just in time. Mr. Roberts nodded. To Mrs. Emily, he corrected. The strongest woman I have ever met. The lunch proceeded amidst laughter. I felt the burden completely disappear. Looking at the security camera in the corner, the one that recorded Alex's crime, I smiled faintly. I promised myself I'd be more careful, but I wouldn't close my heart. I would move forward, running my company, enjoying my life, a completely free woman. After lunch, I left the restaurant, walked to my car. The afternoon wind blew gently. I looked up at the clear blue sky. The images of Alex, Catherine, Jessica slowly faded, turning into dust from the past that no longer hurt. I got in, started the engine, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Mr. Roberts waving goodbye. I smiled, put on my favorite music, and drove towards a bright future. Alone, but not lonely. Because now, I had myself back. And that was more than enough. So, what about you? Have you ever had to fight for your sanity, or your life, against someone you loved? What would you have done in my place when you saw that security footage? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.